I am at that point where I am getting really, really sick and tired of the WWE, especially Vince McMahon and the creative team. It is so ridiculous what the WWE has done with booking Asuka since she came to the main roster from NXT. It's ridiculous. So let me just really set the tone, as this really will go way back to where my frustrations really started. You have Asuka on this undefeated streak. Cool, fine, great. I was digging it. You have her win the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. And even before that, you have her be the sole survivor of her team. I believe it was Raw. Yeah. To win Women's Survivor Series. And she's the sole survivor. So, she's the sole survivor on the winning team. And she wins the first ever Women's Royal Rumble. Now, of course, she goes on to WrestleMania to challenge Charlotte Flair, who is the SmackDown Women's Champion at the time. She had the choice to pick her or Alexa Bliss, who was the Raw Women's Champion, but she chose SmackDown and Charlotte Flair, which was the better pick. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not that I ever had an issue with Charlotte being the one to dethrone Asuka and give her her first loss and her undefeated streak. But it's the way that it was done. It was the way that it was done. If I remember correctly, at that time, Charlotte was either a 6 or a 7-time women's champion. I think it was 6. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. She did not need the win. She didn't need the win. But I get it. I get that she's the one that dethrones Asuka, gives her her first loss. But it was the way that it was done. Watching that whole match, Asuka got Charlotte in multiple submission attempts, targeting a specific part, which I believe was her arm. And yet, Charlotte locks in one figure 8. Hurt limb and all. And Asuka almost instantly taps out. Really? And just like that, WWE has crapped on Asuka and her undefeated streak. Not only that, moving forward, Carmella wins Money in the Bank. First ever women's Money in the Bank. First of all, in a really jacked up way, to the point where they had to redo it. I mean, she still won, but had help. And she eventually cashes in Great, cool, whatever. Sweet. Charlotte gets beat up by the Iconics. Carmella cashes in. Sweet, cool, whatever. Going back to Asuka. 2 title shots against Carmella. And she loses twice. Now, mind you, at the time, Carmella was the heel. And she really was not a good wrestler at the time. Not like how she was in NXT. I don't know if it's part of the gimmick or whatnot. But having her and James Ellsworth together is just so ridiculous. Even furthermore, craps on Asuka. Because the two just do not compare at all. Realistically, they do not compare at all. Fast forward to now. After finally, where it seemed like Vince McMahon has opened his eyes, got rid of all the gunk out of his eyes and out of his head, and can finally see, hey, you know what? The fans like Asuka. She seems to be big. Let's give her a push. And while I don't really fully 100% like the way that she won the title, because, I mean, I would have rather her to win it on her own, but triple threat, TLC, and it was between her, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte Flair, and of course Ronda Rousey interferes, which springs the way for Asuka to win her first main roster title, the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, if I remember correctly, this was how Asuka's reign went. She had her first title defense against Naomi, beat her. Let's see. She's defended against Naomi. She's defended against Becky Lynch. She's defended against Mandy Rose. I don't think she's defended it against anybody else. And apparently, I also learned that she did defend the belt against Charlotte Flair at a house show and made Charlotte tap out. For crying out loud, is it so difficult that y'all can't book Asuka to defeat Charlotte on live TV or at a pay-per-view? Like, really? Really? And then while you have the storyline of Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, who originally won this year's Royal Rumble, who deserves a one-on-one match with Ronda Rousey, but now we have a triple threat match. It's freaking stupid. Because it would have made more sense for WrestleMania to have Asuka versus Charlotte 2, and for Charlotte to finally lose to Asuka. Asuka's redemption. WrestleMania redemption for her WrestleMania moment. But no. Creative can't figure out what the heck to do with Asuka and her SmackDown Women's title reign. And all of a sudden, Charlotte Flair gets another title shot on SmackDown. And once again, very similar to how things went in their meeting at WrestleMania, Asuka locks in a couple of submission attempts Even two Asuka lock attempts. Two. And yet Charlotte locks in one figure eight. And she taps. Are you kidding me? And because of that, Charlotte Flair is now an 8-time women's champion and is the new SmackDown women's champion. And will be going to WrestleMania with the possible chance of becoming a double champion, considering that in that triple threat match, the Raw Women's Championship is on the line. It royally sickens me that the WWE would just unload a crap storm on Asuka. Her SmackDown Championship reign was very bland. And honestly, if it was going to end up being like that, I would have rather her not even have won the title in the first place. Because there would have been no point for this reign to be as bad as it was. All because creative can't figure out what the heck to do. What I don't understand is you have tons and tons of women. The women's roster is big, especially to the point where now you have a women's tag team division. You got ladies and NXT. You know, some that you've called up that you haven't even done a single thing with. Where's Nikki Cross? Where's Lacey Evans? Other than just randomly strutting up and down the ramp. Like, why were they even brought up in the first place? Like, seriously. Dana Brooke, why are you not doing anything with her? It's so ridiculous. Like, there could have been plenty of options. Like, what happened to the supposed rumored idea of a triple threat match at WrestleMania between Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Asuka? What about Lacey Evans? She hasn't even had a match since the Royal Rumble. Like really? We could have had Asuka Charlotte too at WrestleMania. The options are there. They can't sit there and say that they didn't have anything, they didn't know what to do with Asuka en route to WrestleMania. The options are there. It just really makes me sick. WWE's treatment of Asuka. It's already bad enough that Raw has been terrible. It's been terrible for a long time. SmackDown was hit or miss. But it's stuff like this. It's reasons like this where when it comes to WWE, the only programs that I consistently watch, willingly watch, are NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live. And I guess the pay-per-views and any sort of specials that they have. I'll check those out. But other than that, I don't watch Raw and I don't watch SmackDown really anymore consistently. I don't. And the fact that something like this happened and that Asuka's buried 20 feet deep now, and I guess now the whole idea is for them to, I guess, unify the women's championships to one. It's funny, like, you have WrestleMania, coming up in a week, and Charlotte's gonna go into WrestleMania as SmackDown Women's Champion into a triple threat match for the Raw Women's Championship. And then now what do you do with Asuka? What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? I mean, what? Is there going to be some sort of swerve that pulls Charlotte out of the main event? Is Asuka going to get a chance to redeem herself by having a rematch at WrestleMania? Wouldn't make any sense, because it should have been the original idea in the first place for it to be Asuka Charlotte 2. I think it's best to say that Asuka should leave the WWE. Honestly, since getting onto the main roster, she has not been the same. They don't know how to book her. They don't know what the heck to do with her. Once a dominant wrestler, ripping the women's division to shreds, with herself being in NXT, owning that women's division. Her ascension to the main roster only ended up burying her 20 feet deep. And honestly, she's better off just leaving WWE. She's better off going to ROH and being part of Women of Honor. She's better off going to AEW, because they got a lot of stuff coming up. They got a lot of promising things brewing. She'd be better off going back to Stardom. I mean, honestly, because WWE doesn't know what the heck to do with her. They don't. Plain and simple as that. And now it's at the point where her accountability is just down the drain now. WWE creative team are a bunch of freaking idiots. And I can't believe that they would drop the ball this badly. This year's WrestleMania is going to royally suck. This could potentially be one of the worst WrestleManias in a long time. Terrible build-ups. It's just so bad. I have no high expectations for this year's WrestleMania. Asuka, do everybody a favor. Leave the WWE. Go to ROH. Go to AEW. Maybe even go to Impact. I hear that it's gotten better. I don't really watch Impact, but I hear from others that it's gotten better. Go there. Go back to Stardom. Just leave WWE. They are misusing you. You're not being used to your best potential. There's no point. There's no point. There's no point. Charlotte Flair is now an 8-time women's champion. And let's not kid ourselves. Everybody knows a big part of that. Not to take anything away from her in-ring abilities, but we all know a big part of that is because she's the daughter of Ric Flair. Let's not even kid ourselves. Plain and simple as that. She might as well be another female Brock Lesnar, just like Ronda Rousey. Only difference is Charlotte's been around longer than Ronda Rousey, and Charlotte is the daughter of a Hall of Famer / legend. And I already have that feeling that she's probably going to end up being the one to match her father, Ric Flair, and become a 16-time women's champion. Honestly, I'm at that point. Screw Charlotte Flair. Honestly, I'm done. Before I get even angrier, I'm done.